Well, I think we should establish one thing. You're an Africville guy, and I'm a Creighton Street girl.
That's right.
I was born and raised up on Creighton Street, one street up from Gardigan. Let's not forget that.
And that's where we live now.
That's exactly where we live.
And I was born and raised in Africville.
Now, I think there's something you ought to know. There was a very special Chinese restaurant on Gardigan Street called the Mayfair. And when I was about 16 years old, I got unofficially engaged by a young fellow who gave me a ring from the Cracker box of, you know, the rings you used to get out of the Cracker box? I got an engagement ring from a young fellow.
And I was about to get upset, but now I can laugh at it. Carry on.
And that was so long ago. I must have been about 16. But I thought it was time that you found out about that.
Gottingen Street is really important in Halifax's history. It's very historical. It has, in an economic sense, risen and fallen in ways that have nothing to do with the capacity of the people who live there. Those things have been outside of their control. If you look at inner city communities throughout North America and probably beyond, you know, the influence of the big box stores, the growth of suburban malls and suburban neighborhoods where people were able to purchase like larger homes with bigger yards, and all of that kind of stuff drew people out of our inner city communities and drew businesses out of our inner city communities. This is not a reflection on the people who remain in those communities and attempt to try to keep their communities intact.
Well, I think it's really amazing, actually, what's happening in Gottingen. And I think from my understanding of the history, certainly when I was growing up here and used to come down to the library here in Gottingen Street and shop at the Sobeys and do different things, that this community has always been one that has undergone a lot of transition and has had really awesome things happening within it in terms of community support and a strong sense of neighborhood and family and just many really, I think, important community ventures happening in the community. Certainly today, when you look at the awesome Hope Blooms project, when you look at some of the really exciting things that are happening out of the North End Memorial Library, when you come here and you experience the programs that iMoves is doing, there's amazing community initiated activities that are happening that are really offering things not only to this community but to the municipality as a whole, in terms of fantastic gardening and sort of social entrepreneurship from Hope Blooms to really cool music things that are happening here to innovative programming that's happening out of the North End Library, and I think respecting the diversity of the community here, which has been really important.
It's always nice to see the street come back, because Gardigan Street was one of the main streets. Yeah. In fact, I used to work down on Spring Garden Road. Could leave Spring Garden Road at 6:30 on a Friday or Saturday night and come up, and Gardigan Street would be still going open. All the stores would be open.
All the stores?
There would be stores from one end of Gardigan, from here at Gardigan and Gardigan, right up to as far as Stadacona. There's stores on both sides of the street.
Me and my sister Esther were about, I think about 9. I was 9 and she was 10 before we ever got store-bought clothes. And it was at Saks. They finally allowed blacks to charge clothes. And we got these 2 coats our mom bought us. And that was the greatest feeling,
I'm
you
sure.
know. And to have a bottom coat, because my mom was a seamstress. Everything always was made except for underwear and socks and shoes. So when they allowed this, it sort of freed people a bit to have that pride, to have something store-bought on you.
Something nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of memories.
even before we moved here. I think that I remember there used to be two theaters, the Vogue and the Casino. And there used to be a lot of stores here, department stores, Heinnich's. New York Dress was where all the wedding gowns were bought. I remember the French pastry on the corner of Canard and Kowals and Godkin. And I remember there used to be Metro restaurant. It was Chinese food. Then I remember there used to be dances during the summer in Selby's parking lot. Everybody, it's a great big dance there. I remember coming into town on a number 3 bus that was still on the rails and also above on the wires. So broke down and the driver had to get up and put them back on the wires. Godkin went as far as the Rockheads prison, which is no longer there, and that's where the bus turned around, so we got out and walked down to Africville. I remember the Mayfair Cafe was also Chinese. There was another Chinese restaurant in that block, in the same block. Or one was on the corner and then it was in the next block. From Canard up to Garish, there was a restaurant. There was a meat store called Eisner's where everybody brought their meat there. I remember Joe Riss was a grocery store, and my father you could trust there, and you paid it monthly or whatever. So then there used to be a restaurant called Kay's Restaurant that we all came in town. That's where we hung out. We were waiting for our friends and that. Then there was Eddie's Pool Hall that was in the same block. And on the corner of Garish and Godkin, there was the Community Y. The first Community Y was there. I was never in there because it seems like it was all boys in there that played pools, and my brother went there.
In Godkin Street, you could get anything you want down here. There's a lot of stores from block to block, just full of stores. The stores would be clothing stores. Vogue Taylor's is still there. It's one of the few that are still there, but there's many clothing stores, drug stores. There's been 3 or 4 of them. Now there's only one. Like I say, 4 or 5 bars, maybe 6 along Godkin Street.
Of course, it's still great for us to look today and see the Vogue Taylor shop, and I know because that is still one of the long-standing businesses in our community, and so we really cherish the fact that we still see the Vogue Taylor shop there.
It's been there for a while.
It's been there for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
Others have come and gone, but Vogue, still remains.
Well, I would have been a very young person in the 50s and 60s, but from a child's perspective, it was a very lively place.
Yes.
Very lively. And you could walk down the street and you know everybody. And I recall my mother saying when she would go to the Metropolitan store and take the baby carriages, she would leave the baby carriage, everybody would leave the baby carriages outside the Metropolitan, and they would do their shopping because they didn't have to worry about nobody disturbing the children. And if they even thought about doing it, someone on the street would know who the culprit was because everybody knew everybody. So it wasn't an issue or a concern at that time.
Well, it's an extension. I actually lived further in the North End when I grew up, but this was the actual closest library that we would come to. So I didn't actually live in this community, but was one that we would come down to on a fairly regular basis. So yeah, so there's been lots of change here. I mean, I remember the New York Dress shop on the corner there. That was always fabulous as a little kid walking by that, seeing all those dresses and thinking, wow, someday it might be me that might be able to be there. So there's lots of interesting memories for sure.
Was it New York Dress?
New York, always loved that store.
Yeah. We heard it was really fancy, like they had all the mannequins.
I didn't get it. It was right on the corner too, Kowals and Godkin.
Yeah.
I never got to go in there too many times.
Oh, to me, I thought you were going to say never.
No, I didn't say that. But I mean, I just like, I love their clothes. I like all their styles of things, and they always had something new, even in.
Everybody went there. So.
Yeah, New York Dress Shop, that was,
Well, I remember myself and my cousin, when we had to get permission to come in town. We were still in Africville. And she called, asked me to ask my father could I come in town with him. We did. I didn't realize she had a date. So she went on her date, and she told me to wait in Kay's restaurant for her. So we had to be home by 12:30. So I asked somebody, or somebody wanted to buy me a pop, and I said no, I didn't want, and I was waiting for my cousin. I was kind of pissed off at her because she still hadn't come, and she knew we had to get that last bus at 12:15 would get us home by 12:30, a little bit more minutes.
And we used to hang around. We used to, really enjoy listening to fantastic players. There were some amazing guys here, Joe Seeley.
Yeah.
So we used to sneak in the lobster trap. If
Yeah.
you're doing history, it's sort of like the street here in a way, but
Yeah.
it should be told that they had some fantastic music there. They literally built a stage that came out electronically.
Yeah, gorgeous.
And they built it for Duke Ellington, the Duke Ellington. He was alive. He played there.
Yeah.
Right down there, the band over
Yeah.
But I remember the Mayfair too. We used to go there after the dances.
Yeah.
You were probably wasn't even born then. But anyway, we'd go there for a late snack at night, and they had the best fish and chips in town at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Where were you coming from?
Geary Street Hall. Dances with live bands. Bucky Adams playing. Yeah, just the good old days.
And there was Joe Seeley. He played there quite a bit too. It was quite fantastic. And then after having discussions with my mother, who's 93, she also used to go to the Geary Street Hall, during her younger years. So it's had quite a history.
Never seen her there.
Of course not.
What is that?
Geary
What went on
Street Hall was maybe just about 10 feet from the corner of Gaudigan and Geary Street. And they would have dances there where all the young people would go. Live dances with live bands. It was quite a fantastic place for young people to go.
Predominantly black.
Predominantly black at that time, way back in
And
the 50s and the 60s. But it was quite a spot. When did you start going to the Geary Street Hall, which is right around the corner from Garden?
When did I start?
How old would you have been when the Geary Street Hall was going strong?
I was married and had children then.
Okay. That was like a dance hall.
dance hall?
Yeah, it was very popular.
You'd heard about, is that what, Club 55?
Club 55.
Too, or was that a different
Club
building?
50. No, Club 55 is a different building, but what used to be there also was a place called Club Unusual,
Yes,
which was
yeah.
an after-hour
Yeah.
place.
Oh,
Remember the
Club-
Club Unusual?
Oh,
Club
yeah.
Unusual.
Yeah, no, that's
And
one
it
I
was
didn't
start-
get into many times.
Yeah. It started after
And of
12.
course I wanted to, which I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another important part too were the Dutchie's favorite, because Dutchie, there was a few pawnbrokers. Dutchie would have like a couple guitars or something, and he would need some money because he drank most of it. Well, I shouldn't say that. But his secret of staying in a bar was he would have a bar tab that would exceed the pay they would get.
Yeah.
So the club would have to bring him back the next week to try and recoup their money.
Yeah.
Once he was in, and that was no secret, everybody knew that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Once he was in, he was there for like, 8 weeks. He would
Pawn.
pawn one of the guitars and get some cash, then go play a weekend gig and come back and have some money, get his guitar back, and then
Yeah.
pawn his other guitar. I don't know what, he just wanted to get some extra money, I guess, in the middle of the week or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But he used one as kind of a...
Just to have it, to make
But a
sure.
lot of musicians bought their guitars.
Yeah.
I've got an acoustic guitar home that I bought,
At
now
the,
that I think about it, in the
Yeah.
shop down here.
So there was a lot of clubs here at one time. I remember Cousin Brucey, but I think it was the massage parlor. I remember Energy, which was downstairs, and then there was, before that I think it was Occasions, and it was run by 2 guys from Ontario. So we used to hang there. And I remember the Scotia Drugs used to be Guardian, so their name is back to Guardian now. And then it used to be Crow's. Crow's was in the block from Bernard to Geary Street. It was in that block, and then it eventually came to this building. And then that left. There used to be Combs lunch counter. The Misty Moon used to be here, and underneath, before the Misty Moon went upstairs, there was the Marathon restaurant. So, and then they made the club the Misty Moon upstairs, so we used to hang there also. So there's a lot of good memories here.
So there was a lot going on the street.
Yeah.
But this street was
You know?
busy. I mean,
Yeah.
it was
It was a lot
really,
going
really,
Yeah.
it was a
in the
really
evening,
busy
and,
street.
and
Yeah.
there was never no, like I said, there was nurses, students that came to the
Yeah.
Misty Moon.
There wasn't violence.
They were never scared of coming.
Yeah.
A lot of them didn't have money to get a cab, and they'd walk,
Yeah.
back across the
Yeah.
commons and everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I never heard of any,
No,
Incidents.
No.
no.
Yeah.
There wasn't that kind of
breakout of
violence, right?
fisticuffs, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's typical.
that happened in
Ireland
the
stuff.
country.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there even wasn't that
Yeah.
much in the Misty Moon.
No.
Yeah.
Brought all these big bands in here, and they recognized it. Half the kids, people coming up, all of them went to the Arrows Club. They always knew where Friday and Saturday night where they could go and enjoy themselves. And plus, it was a mixed club. It was, everybody went there.
It wasn't a black club. It was a white
No,
club.
no.
That was for everybody.
It was for everybody. Geez, we had lawyers and everybody there.
Lawyers.
Yeah, lawyers, everybody. That's right. Doctors, lawyers, government officials. We had them all. So, we came a long way.
Sure did.
I would say, Nelson, like our church has the strong root in the community. Because I went to the same church when I was a child, and I can look back and say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I was rooted there and had the support systems of other mothers and fathers that were in the church. And that was very important to me as a child, and to know that I could reach out to them if I was ever having any difficulties in my own household as a child, because they were so strongly connected to us, the other adults in the church, and I felt connected to them and never ever lost. And that was very important to me as a poor black child in the community of Gardingen and Creighton back in the 50s and 60s. It was very important to me. So that stayed with me.
And of course, the hub of our community was our church, Cornwall Street Baptist Church. That was the hub of the community. The stabilizing force in our community was our church and our faith in God.
Nova Scotia has had like 3 or 4 migrations of African people to it. After the American Revolution in the 1780s, again in the War of 1812, that kind of thing. So the population in the north end of the city has been here for a very long time. I mean, today they're most known for their Cornwallis Baptist Church, was 1834. So I mean, that's 170 odd years old, that building. And a lot of the people who lived on the street were African Nova Scotian, and we had a very integrated community here. Now, there's lots of racism in Nova Scotia, and there always has been, but it seems that on Godwin Street, at least in the north end, there seemed to have been some sort of coexistence going on.
What I especially like about the area is its diversity, and that's the main reason why I want to stay here. I think it's important that we stay on Creighton Street and stay connected to Gardingen and Creighton, because it's diverse, and I find that we learn and we grow and we develop through diversity. That's my understanding. And that's why I have no intentions of going anywhere. They're going to have to probably carry me in a box out of the area. I'm not leaving.
Well, I like to think about this being a very dynamic, mixed community, a community where you will have a great deal of diversity in all of its forms. Diversity in terms of ethnicity, in terms of cultural groups, in terms of income, in terms of employment, age, and what have you. I think it's an ideal central location on the peninsula, where increasingly, the peninsula is a finite land base, and so this is an area where there still can be development. There are vacant lots. We need to ensure that they are developed in an appropriate way that will enhance the community, not push people out of the community. That means a commitment to having affordability around any housing that goes up. But I also would really love to see more commercial opportunities for businesses and various kinds of enterprises. Even the social enterprises have the not-for-profits be able to kind of morph themselves into a model where they're both providing services, but they're generating revenue that they can reinvest in the programs that they're doing. They can offer opportunities for people in the community to get their toe in the door to employment and other skill development. And you know, that it will be an inclusive community, that people will do more collaboration across different, you know, kind of different interests. And I look at the North End Clinic and the Carmala Street Baptist Church and the Mi'kmaq Friendship Center as being three very distinct organizations that could serve as like an amazing model of leadership for how you do that.
There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of condos in the areas, and I don't know if they're trying to push the people that, I mean, what do they call it? Control rents or whatever, and I don't think, it's almost like they're pushing the people at the area, because you hear a lot of stories. They're saying that UNIAC Square is being sold, and they're eventually going to tear it down, and then you got the St. Pat's Alexandria complex coming, so but you need today you need a lot of money for these buildings, you know? And they got to realize there's still families in this area, and there's still seniors here, so they should be making affordable housing for those people. So maybe it's a good thing. We'll see down the line what's going to happen.
Oh wow, the future of this area. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens here. I'm hoping that there'll be balance and strength in all places where change is coming from, and that people will be able to respect the strength and be able to sort of, without sounding too corny, but really embrace it as opposed to standing back from it. So thinking about the strength of the community groups that are active and working here, thinking about the strength of the long-term community people that have lived in this community and the diversity of the communities they represent, but with the new people that are moving in here and the new people that are bringing new ideas and energy, the strength of the old established businesses and the emerging strength of the new businesses and how they sort of work with one another. And the strength as development happens. There will be development happening here. You know, I think there's a concern about gentrification, and I think that's real. So how will people be able to continue to live here, or have lived here all their life, and not be pushed out because of rising either housing costs or rental costs? So we need to really work hard that there's an integration of people from many different income levels, many different communities, and that there's options for people if they choose and want to stay here to do that. I think the other thing too is that really trying to make sure that that there's opportunity for families here. Sometimes there's a bit of a push that, you know, well, we want, you know, young professionals to be here, and you know, that's all good. You know, young professionals are wonderful, whatever. But we also want to make sure it's a diverse community that has kids, that has families, that has seniors, that has people from many different, you know, walks of life, and that diversity. Because I think that's been something that's worked, been a strength and has worked really well. So it will be very important, and I think strategic conversations and conversations that need to happen with people listening very carefully and not pulling back, but really trying to reach forward and understand, you know, the huge potential that, well, not potential, but the awesome stuff that's here already, and the potential for that, and then how to really work and incorporate that.
When I was thinking about this today, I was thinking about how people said to me when I rented a place on Gottingen Street, "Why are you moving to Gottingen Street?" And it was probably the best decision I've ever made, or one of the best decisions. I moved into this community and I've never moved out. And I love the North End of Halifax. It is it's real.
They give this area a bad name, but it's not a bad area. It's not like any other place, you know. They're always saying it's the hood. It's not the hood. They don't know what a hood is. You know, if you go to the States, you'll see a hood. The hood's usually a lot of garbage in the hood. Brand new cars and a lot of garbage. But I don't think it. I really get mad when they call Uniacke Square the hood, and I don't like it. I mean, it might be a hood to them, but it's not to me. My kids grew up there, and I think they're no different than just that. I think people looked up for your kids more so. That's what I remember. And they seen your kids, they knew your kids, so they would tell them to go home a certain time. But if you talk to kids nowadays and tell them, you know, what time it is, they tell you it's none of your business. So those are the good parts. And I remember there's a lot of older people that was here also, you know. So eventually they were gone, and we didn't have the close-knit community as we had when we moved here. And everybody knew everybody.
Like I mentioned earlier, the diversity, the makeup of the people is very important to me, and that's one of the main reasons why I want to be able to continue to live in the area. I said to our neighbor just the other day, a middle-aged couple who's white, and I said, by the way, do you know that we are in the minority? And he looked at his arm, skin color. What do you mean, Linda? He said. Well, I'm talking about the ages. Like there's a lot of young people moving into the area, along with the senior population that's here and the middle-aged population. So I find it vibrant, very, very vibrant, and I like that.
Yeah, thank you for welcoming me here in Canada. I'm from Germany. My name is Lars. I'm from the city of Düsseldorf, which is in the very western part of Germany. And actually, I came here to Canada 10 days ago. And the first evening I spent in Halifax was on Gardiner Street. And I was very impressed to see a German town name here in Nova Scotia, and every time I went on Göttingen Street, how you say, I saw the signs, the name of the street, and I remembered that there is a song which is very famous in Germany and in France as well, which is called Göttingen. Göttingen. Yeah. This song was made in the 60s by a French chanson singer, and she's called Barbara. And she once visited the town of Göttingen, which is in the middle of Germany, and she found it so nice that she made a song out of it. So I will try to sing it. I cannot promise to manage it, but we will see. And it goes like this. Bien sûr, ce n'est pas la Seine, ce n'est pas le bois de Vincennes, mais c'est bien joli tout de même, à Göttingen, pas de quai et pas de rengaine, qui le lentement et qui s'étraîne, mais l'amour il fleurit quand même, à Göttingen. Ils savent mieux que nous, je pense, l'histoire de nos rois de France, Hermann, Peter, Helga et Hans, à Göttingen. Et que je personne s'enfonce, mais les contes de notre enfance, il était une fois commence, à Göttingen. Gewiss, dort gibt es keine Seine und auch den Wald nicht von Vincennes. Doch sah ich nie so schöne Rosen wie in Göttingen. Wir haben unsere grauen Morgen, Verlains Seele mit ihren Sorgen, doch sie sind die Melancholie selbst in Göttingen. Wenn Ihnen mal die Worte fehlen, dann wird's mit einem Lächeln gehen, so können wir sie doch verstehen, die blonden Kinder in Göttingen. May never come back again, the times of war, blood and hatred, because there are people that I love on Göttingen. La 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 la. Oh, it's so pretty out here on Göttingen. When would ring the bell alarm? If we had to take up arms again, my heart would shed a tear for Göttingen, for Göttingen Street.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thanks so much,
That's the
Lars.
Göttingen song.